Good afternoon, everyone. We will be getting started in just a few minutes. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Stronger Together: How Earned and Paid Media Work Better in Tandem. We are so excited to be joined by Advanced Travel and Tourism and Pineapple Public Relations. Thank you all so much. I just have a quick couple housekeeping things before we get started, and then I will hand it over to our lovely speakers. Just a little bit about STS. We're a professional association dedicated to the promotion and development of tourism throughout the southeastern United States. We empower a diverse network of tourism professionals through education, advocacy, recognition, and networking. And then there's just a map of our footprint, just in case you are not familiar with who all is included in the Southeast in our association. We always like to start out by thanking our corporate partners, Advanced Travel and Tourism, of course. Thank you all so much. Accent Creative Group, Fired Up Culture, Jay Rudney, OBP Agency, and Simple View. Thank you all so much for your support. Without your support, we could not do what we do. So we greatly appreciate all of that. And just a couple of reminders, we have some great resources. Please check them out. You can learn more about STS if you are not familiar with who we are by visiting our website. You can also sign up for our newsletters on the website as well. That gives you great information about what we all have going on as well as what's going on in the industry. We also have our education and programming, upcoming in-person events on that website. Virtual learning, sign up for new webinars such as this one and view past webinars. We will be recording this presentation and posting it on our website as well as sending it out in the next few days. So be on the lookout for that. And then we also have our advocacy resources and news. We have a DEI section. We have a call to action and a take action now area to know exactly what's going on in the industry and where you can make your voice heard, and then specific policy proposal information as well. And then we have our industry research page with research from affiliate partners in tourism. So please check that out. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Veronica Frazier. I'm the Senior Director of Member Development. I am happy to answer your questions about membership, or if there's anything else I may assist you, please email me at veronica@southeasttourism.org. So without further ado, I will be handing it over to Kyle Stick-to-Note. He will be our host for today, and he will be guiding us through this webinar. So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the presentation. Thank you,
Thank
Kyle.
you. Thank you so much, Veronica. Appreciate what you and everybody at STS does. We're excited to share this today. We're going to talk through how public relations and paid media really need to be a cohesive strategy, and some of the successes we have when we work together on those things, but also some of the things you should be looking for individually along those lines. As Veronica mentioned, my name is Kyle Sticktonut. I am the Senior Director for Advanced Travel and Tourism. I've been with Advanced for 15 years, been leading the travel and tourism efforts in the Southeast for the last two. And something I've really learned over those 2 years is how much better we all are when we work together on things. So, in the spirit of that, we wanted our friends at Pineapple Public Relations to join us in this webinar. And so, with that, we've got Melissa and Allison. And Melissa Walker, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm going to go ahead and apologize ahead of time. I have a little bit of a cold today. So if I sound a little stopped up, that's why. But it's a pleasure to join you today. Thank you, Kyle, for the intro. As Kyle mentioned, I work with Pineapple Public Relations, and we are a PR agency, and we mainly focus on tourism and hospitality. So we have worked with over 200 DMOs. Many of you we've had the pleasure of working with either on the client side or through Travel Media Meetup with our Southeast Tourism Society partnership. So great to see some familiar names out there. And yeah, I've worked in media relations for almost 17 years, actually more than 17 years now, and have been at Pineapple the entire time. So have had the pleasure of working with numerous of tourism and hospitality clients ranging from outdoor rec to hotels to DMOs. So excited to be here and to share with you all any knowledge and helpful tips.
Very cool. And your tag team partner, Allison Haber, joining us as well. Allison, say hello.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Haber. I'm account director at Pineapple. Melissa and I work really closely. She did a great job at describing what we do. I also, in my past, have worked with different clients ranging from fashion lines, large scale events, food and beverage, and more. But happy to be here in the tourism hospitality space now.
Very cool. So we're going to hit several little case studies along the way, tackle several areas of the space. But before we jump into all of that, I thought it would be a good idea for us to sort of define the space that we're working with here. And so we've got really two key categories here of earned media and paid media. And the differences between that, it's maybe a little blurry more now than ever, but we do have some significant differences. Earned media is really that organic, natural media attention that you will get from newspapers and broadcast and radio and publications and online internet bloggers and influencers, stuff that you're not paying for, right? Do journalists feel that what you have to tell from a story is worth them covering on their own without you having to give them any sort of compensation? And then the other side of that is paid media, where you do have specific budgets and deliverables, and you're paying for space, whether it be radio or television broadcast commercial spots or placement in publications or just impressions being run across digital opportunities that exist out there. So let's dig a little bit deeper into some of the specifics of that. And Melissa, walk us through what some of the earned media space looks like.
Absolutely. So earned media is different because we really have to work to pitch them our stories and our angles, them being the media outlets. And so we have to work into, what they have planned or pique their interest enough to inspire them to cover our destination that we're promoting. So with that earned media, you do get the extra leverage of the trustworthiness of the journalist covering it. People knowing it's not paid just makes them, feel a little more confident in what they're reading about the destination. Some examples of earned media can come through just regular news outlets, newspapers, publications, magazines, blogs, influencers. That's kind of where Kyle was mentioning the line gets blurred a little bit. We'll get into more of that later. Any social shares, reviews, it really just earns that credibility with the reader. What it is not, we don't have total control of over the message because it is going to be written through the journalist's eyes. And consistency, as much as we would love for that writer to cover our destination every single time they sit down to pump out a story, Unfortunately, they just can't do that. It wouldn't be fair to them, and their editor probably wouldn't be happy about that. So that dives into earned media a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think, the it not being controllable and consistent is where paid media really fills the gap, right?
Absolutely.
And so
Yes,
paid media is
absolutely.
all the things that we can control. We can set a print ad schedule with different publications, and we can serve a million digital impressions across different target segments, and we can book out a video campaign strategy, whether it's on streaming or broadcast. So these are all things that we can control, we can pay for, and we can have more set deliverables accordingly with that. So we'll talk a lot more about these two things and how to make them work together. But I wanted to go way back in time in the time machine and really kind of get back to where this all started, understand storytelling and the history of storytelling. And this is 50,000 years ago. This is where it all began, on the side of caves, where people were literally etching in images of where there was food or danger or safety to try to communicate and tell stories about what was out there in the world. As we zoom out and look at the whole timeline of this, that was 50,000 years ago. It took us 40,000 years, so 10,000 years ago, and we started to get written language, which then allowed for things to really be written down, governance structure to start to exist. Then distribution came into play with the printing press, telegram, telephone, broadcast across with airways, whether it be television or radio. The internet exploded things even further. And then social media gave everybody a platform, right? You don't have to own a television station or a newspaper to communicate. All you need is a Facebook or a TikTok, and now you can be a messenger. So that's kind of how we got there, and the distribution of it is very important. It's not just science, it's also art, the way we tell stories and communicate. And so as we look at how the brain works in this, we are bombarded with information. There is so much information coming at us nonstop. And our brain is good at filtering out a lot of that noise. Sometimes our family and significant others wish we weren't so good at filtering out all of that. But regardless, we deem something as significant and then it makes it into our short-term memory. Short-term memory is great, but as marketers and advertisers, we want to make sure we make it past that to the long term. So from a marketing perspective, we use consistency and frequency. Think about your big brands, your McDonald's, your Coca-Cola, every insurance company that exists. They have a consistency and a frequency of their messaging, and you can't help but forget those brands and what they stand for. That is the repetition part of it. But there's another part of this that is more of the art of the story, and that is the association. So with that, Melissa, talk to me a little bit about the power of a story and how we build that association.
Absolutely. Well, people are now searching for stories that they do associate with and that their values do align with. So if it resonates with them, it's going to be important enough to them to read and to pay attention to. And storytelling these days, it moves away from message control and it really aims more to make a connection with the reader and to them inspire them to travel to the destination that we're representing. So, the great thing about earned media is it does give the writer the freedom to speak their mind and cover the stories that will inspire their readers. So, diving into a little bit more about the PR landscape today, it has shifted a little bit. There's so much noise out there in the media. And I mean, you constantly hear, oh, fake news, this, that. I mean, it's just all over the place. So people are really looking for those stories that they can tap into, that they can relate to, and that they feel are authentic to cut through that noise. Um, it's that earned media, it builds trust by doing this. So our job really is to dig deep and find those untold stories with our clients that are going to resonate with the audience and then inspire them to travel to a destination. This is a shift from traditional press releases. I know there is still definitely a time and place for those. And I know some people just have to have them. We totally get that. But there are just so many different media landscapes that we have to appeal to now that just a standard press release just doesn't cut it anymore. You really have to position those pitches to fit for those social platforms, the podcast platforms, blogs, reviews, Substacks. There's so many different things. So just when you're looking at the media you're trying to reach, just keep that in mind and keep in mind that there are so many different ways to tell a story and to just be sure to tell it in a way that would appeal to their audience and appeal to their platform. And then social platforms, of course, are huge now. You have that immediate interaction with your audience. You can hear what they have to say about your destination. You can tell them what you want them to hear about your destination. You immediately know what resonates with them. So, all of that is huge. Use that information to your advantage. If you see that you post a story on Instagram and so many people are interacting with it and getting excited about it, maybe try out a pitch about it. Maybe take it a step further and get some paid media behind it. There's just a lot of different ways you can spread that. And it's a great way to judge what's going to resonate with people. And then, of course, last but not least, AI is becoming more and more dominant for travel planning. And I think that that is going to continue to grow. And AI uses trustworthy sources and those quality outlets. So any quality earned media reigns supreme for them. They prioritize that and they will pull the information from that and serve it to their readers and who's searching for your destination. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, I mean that pretty much it's an ever evolving industry, but those are some highlights for it right now.
Melissa, you said the T word. And so with that, we're going to bring in Allison to talk a little bit about why that's so important.
Yes, for sure. I mean, trust is probably one of the most important things that I rely on day to day. It's a huge benefit of storytelling. Not only just when you're talking to journalists, it goes way beyond that. It's also the community, it's the visitors. So it just building a trust as a whole. You then get that, like Melissa was saying, that response, that impact, you get it immediately. Um, I think that one of our case studies is coming up, and this was a really good example of trust, is we built with Georgia State Parks, we built so much trust within the community that we actually partnered with Amy Copeland Foundation and put out an amazing story. So we told a story and had a great partner to also tell the story with us. So I think that trust really, really benefits both sides.
Yeah, a case study alert. Let's go right into it here because
Yeah.
it's a really cool story that is, I hear so much buzz around what can we do around accessibility. And there's a lot of noise that is sort of lip service, but this is a real success.
Totally. Accessibility is completely one of those buzzwords that's it's honestly a little scary because you can say your destination is accessible and then all of a sudden you bring
Yeah.
someone in and it's maybe not so accessible anymore. So I think that it's a little bit tricky and you have to be very, very careful before you start touting it. However, with Georgia State Parks, as like I said, we had this great partner that trusted us, we trusted them, and we worked together on this story. The Amy Copeland Foundation, they partnered and brought in these all-terrain track chairs so that people of all walks of life are able to enjoy the outdoors. So and it's a free service. You just have to make a reservation. I mean, it's just like an incredible opportunity for people, inclusion and letting people get outside with their families, which what's better than that? So through this, we obviously positioned Georgia State Parks as a huge leader in accessibility, gained major brand recognition for both Amy Copeland and Georgia State Parks. And overall, media-wise, it was a home run. Obviously, like you said, many people like to discuss this anyway, but we were local, regional, national, TV, broadcast. I mean, every single platform you can think of. We had a few social posts go viral. It was a huge success. But what makes it an even better success, like I said, is the partnership as a whole and how we work together.
Real good, authentic stories. This great stuff. But, Allison, one of the struggles I think we have on this is How do you measure the success of this? And so that brings us to our next thing. And you've got the seven Barcelona principles here. But it's a challenge to figure out what does success look like when you're embarking on something like this, right?
It is truly the most frustrating thing from a PR professional, I think, and is how do we measure it, right? Like some clients want the numbers, some people want the impact. What is really the most important thing and what's going to get people to come visit? The numbers can skew and they're tough, and it's like you get included in one listicle on yahoo.com and all of a sudden you're adding, a billion to your bottom line, but billion impressions. And it's like, is that as impactful as maybe a great hit on a drive time regional that it's a full feature but only has about, 50,000 readers? It's hard to judge, right? So we really, using those Barcelona principles, we really try our best to talk with our clients and talk to them about how can we measure it using these KPIs. So let's go through and let's talk about who we want to target, exactly where they are, what messages we want to spread, and that changes year to year. So, checking in every single year and saying, "Hey, listen, I know last year we hit this area. I feel like this one might be better." So, including those messages and then other options for us, a lot of our clients is, did they mention the website? Did they, did they feature a picture? So kind of using those to judge it on a 1 to 10 scale as opposed to just straight ad rate and impression numbers. I feel that you're really hitting what you want to, and rather than just putting out numbers. So it's just measuring that impactfulness and actually what's going to make someone book, what's going to make someone do, what's the call to action on this one? And is it really going to make them go?
Very good. So I think this is a good opportunity for us to sort of talk about strategy best practices. And one of the big things from a strategy perspective is what does success look like? So, we love to sort of start with the end in mind, understanding, okay, how are we going to measure the success of this? And obviously, you've got the seven Barcelona principles. Those are things to consider. We'll talk a little bit more about how the paid media side of thing can help really give you some more firmness around what success might look like. But one of the struggles we often find is that there's multiple stakeholders that are part of the conversation, and they may have different definitions of what success looks like. So understanding who's at the table, what matters to them, do we have a mechanism and a method and a mechanism to track and measure those things, setting ourselves up for that success. And are they realistic and attainable goals, right? Because we've all worked with people that want the moon, and we're not in a situation where we can deliver the moon. So, how do we set those realistic goals so that everybody understands this is what we're aiming for, this is what we can control, and this is how we're going to get there? Is a really important part of this. Next, I want to really bring Melissa back in and talk about this idea of media mapping and understanding how to plan strategically for the media partners that exist out there. So, Melissa, what is media mapping?
So, first of all, I want to just go back really quickly to what
Yeah.
you were talking about with success, Kyle, because I think that's a really important point. And I will say one thing that is great about having partners on the earned and paid media side is we know what people are looking for, and we know what's realistic, and so lean on us for opportunities to define what success looks like. And it's a great way to redefine those goals so that everybody is on the same page with their idea of success. But after you have decided that, this is how you move forward. So obviously, identifying the media wish list is number one priority. You want to figure out who is going to be the best outlets that are going to reach your target markets, that are going to be able to share your story, and that are going to be able to influence visitors to come. So once you've created that media list, that's the easy part. Getting a hold of the media contacts, I would say this is the most in-depth process. we spend our days making those contacts, and it is all about relationship building. There are so many media coming in and out these days. It's such an evolving landscape in the media world right now, but just making those connections, and you do so by sending them relevant information, making sure that you're not wasting their time. I mean, we have so many media respond to us saying, "Thank you for actually reading my content and knowing what I cover before sending me this." Even if it's not a fit for them, they just appreciate that you took the time to research. So that's our next one. Research the publication you're trying to get into. Research what the writer likes to write about, what interests them. Read their stories, read previous, pieces that they've done, even if it's not for the publication that you're targeting, and just get to know them and get to know the trends that are coming up too. Be able to tie into those and tie your story into there. And then develop your pitch plan. Use that for timing out when you're going to send these pitches. Keep in mind the deadlines, keep in mind when trends might be coming out. There are so many great resources online that you can pull from for that. And having that will just be a great guideline so that you are not missing anything. And then last but not least, create that engaging content. So that's where the storytelling comes into play. You might want to share a message, but there's probably a better way to share it that is going to be a little more authentic to your audience. So it's just digging deep and figuring out what that is and making sure that it still aligns with your storytelling goals. But by consistently sharing this relevant news, that's what's going to get you that high quality editorial coverage.
This is great stuff, Melissa, and it reminds me that the same approach we take in understanding how we're going to market to different audience segments, whether it be outdoor enthusiasts or families or empty nesters, we need to take that same approach to how we work with our media partners as well and
Absolutely.
understand the nuances of each different group, publication, writer, creator, whatever, and have a specific approach and tactics for that as well. So I think
Yeah,
that's
we're all different. They want to cover different things. And so if you can pique their interest, you'll
yeah,
be a
it
lot more
almost
excited
requires you
about
to have
that.
a B2B marketing strategy for just your media partners, right? So I think that's super smart and good. The next part three of this is really what you call the multiplier effect, which I think is taking the media mapping and then making it work, right?
Right, right. So getting a story is the first part. That is always so exciting for us. But as I mentioned, unfortunately, Southern Living is not going to be able to include the destination that we want them to every single time they write about a story. So this is where paid can come in and help and amplify that earned media coverage. We have the story, so now let's share it and let's spread it. So one thing that is very important is to identify the paid platforms where your audience already spends the time. Meet them where they are. If you know that they're a younger audience and they're on social media, put some money behind social media and push it that way. Um, and choose those paid channels that make sense for your goals and budget. Your paid media team will be able to help a lot with this. They have a lot of insight into that. And so they'll really be able to guide you in the right direction with that. And I think Mary Michael is going to talk some more about that too.
Absolutely. So we're going to bring in Mary Michael Lindsay. She is our paid media strategist superstar. And if you've got clients or you've got somebody who needs to see firm numbers, this is how we do it. So Mary Michael, kind of walk us through how we were able to drive some impressive numbers that can give you that control that paid media does.
All right. Well, Kyle, thank you for that introduction. That is quite the intro. But yeah, so I wanted to chat with you all about this case study that we have featured here. And you just heard from Melissa how, paid placements help reinforce stories that are being shared through PR, making them more visible, easier to remember, etc. And it was also mentioned earlier on that it's important to choose paid channels that make the most sense for your goals and budget. That's what Melissa just talked about. So let's definitely take a deeper dive into how paid can play a role. This case study demonstrates exactly what happens when you follow these best practices by applying paid media strategically in order to drive high value results and actions. And this is a fantastic example of using paid media to achieve that lift and deliver results, but specifically within the lower funnel. Talk about control. Um, so this was an anonymous state tourism organization that we worked with between the months of January and August of this year. And their objective wasn't just storytelling, it was getting people to truly act. Not high level awareness or anything like that. It truly was that lower funnel controlled action that we wanted. They wanted to secure high intent, lower funnel conversions like form submissions and newsletter signups. So this aligns perfectly with the idea that, we need to choose these paid channels wisely and make sure that they align with our goals and, of course, our budget as well. So in this case, we opted for channels optimized for conversion, of course. Now, the strategy on this, our specific targeting coupled with compelling creative help to drive strong results. We targeted people who were researching for a trip and those like higher intent travel audiences, basically people who are already interested, they're already on the hook, if you will. So strategic targeting coupled with strong creative really aided in our success with this campaign. But I do just want to take a moment and give creative its moment. It's time to shine. So let's talk about that for just a second. These paid efforts were definitely reinforced through the organization's like already established branding and travel stories. So, for example, the destination already offers a wide variety of diverse cultural opportunities. And we really capitalized on that by promoting these offerings through bold, colorful, creative, and also action focused messaging. And we promoted these unique experiences, such as like culinary, music, history, all the things that you want to do and see when you go and travel. But then on top of that, we used action focused messaging like don't miss out on what's new in this state or stay in the know, that like FOMO, fear of missing out type of messaging, ultimately to get people to sign up for the newsletter, click through to the website, etc. So really that action focused conversion. But to bring us up back or high level again, that trifecta of targeting, creative, and messaging really helped to make this organization's travel stories and diverse offerings more visible, more memorable, just like we talked about earlier with PR. But ultimately, this created thousands of leads, and you can see the results here. They speak for themselves. Over 10,300 tour guide form submissions, over 6,100 newsletter signups. And these warm leads can then be nurtured and activated by your earned media content, really creating that multiplier effect that Melissa just talked about. So it really can help you cut through all of that noise that's out there and give you an opportunity to leverage an audience who's already very interested, like we saw with this case study.
Mary Michael, if we think back to how the science of our brains work when it comes to all the inputs that are out there, by connecting the quality content and storytelling through these paid channels, you're able to make it past the short-term memory to the long-term memory and create that association, right? Which is why we saw such strong engagement numbers for this, right? So, I mean, this isn't rocket science. It's taking quality stories, aligning them with the right people, and giving them something to lean into and get excited about.
Absolutely. and finding them when they're ready to act, whatever that action may be. We talked about starting with the end in mind. That's exactly what we did with this campaign. So,
Very good.
yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing, Mary Michael. All right, next we're going to move on to one of the more complicated spaces when it comes to this. We talked about there being a blurriness, sort of a gray middle. Social media is really it, and we'll talk about 5 areas of social media here, and what you need to really know or be considering about all of them. So we'll start with organic content, and organic content on social platforms is pretty much dead. Right? People are not going to find that. Think of it like the spider web that's in the back of the corner of your backyard, right? Like you're not getting to that unless you go seek it. So, what should we be doing with our social pages, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? Really, it's a library for your content for your destination. Social pages should be curating a feeling, a vibe about who you are. This is where specific stories can really be good here, but we want to stay away from generic posts that are surface level, right? The sugar high stuff that's out there, like, and we've all seen it, stuff that doesn't actually do anything to inspire or move a visitor to understand what they're going to experience with you. We want to stay away from that and invest in things that are super quality there. On the paid side of social media, it was frustrating at first when organic reach got just completely tanked, but it does create a really good opportunity for us to have specific segmented strategies for those different groups, right? If our blue shirts care about fishing, then we can really create content specific for blue shirts, and only they're going to see it through our paid ads campaign. And if the yellow shirts are history buffs, then the same thing, right? So we're able to create versions and curated content that we can then push out through ads and boosted content that can be way more effective. So identify your core segments here. Build yourself a content calendar for each of them. You've got seasonality for different groups, all right? Summertime is going to be big for family travel, right? So let's build a content calendar that we can take advantage of that period of time for that specific segment there. And then I mentioned boosting of content. So boosting is one of those things where we can try to plan for it, right? One of my big pet peeves is when people say, our strategy is to create some viral content. Well, you can't really control that, but you need to be ready when the opportunity knocks. When you put something out there that gets the traction you want, or you uncover that story that you didn't know was there, that's an opportunity for us to say, okay, we're getting some traction here. This is where we want to boost this to whichever segments make sense, right? So you're taking that longer form story, and really using that to get in front of people who can lean in and engage and create that association, long-term memory that equals the success that we want to see. This is a great opportunity for you to share earned media placements that you get, right? Local news station, or you get featured in a magazine or publication. This is a great opportunity for you to put that out there, boost it, gives you some extra credibility there. And a great place for teasers, for newsletters and blogs. We're all looking to get more people to sign up for our email newsletters. Little blurbs, pull excerpts out, put that on there, boost it out to the audience that makes sense with their call to action of, hey, if you want more of this, sign up for our newsletter. So we want to make sure we have a strategic strategy for boosting and keep a little budget pulled back, because you never know when you're going to have an opportunity to take advantage of something that's out there. Next, we want to talk about how do we engage with your media partners through social, right? And a lot of media outlets are trying to figure this out, and we see them reinventing and adding in new things and trying new brands and all of those things. So there is a lot of change and fluidity to how social media and media companies and outlets are working through that. The best thing you can do is to understand who's out there and who the social media content managers are at those places. Build a relationship, right? We talked about media mapping. This is an opportunity for you to map who's out there in that space and understand, like, what do they care about? And then make yourself available, right? If they need a place to create, shoot content, they need an expert to talk about something, right? Can you make yourself available for that? Build that relationship and then engage and interact with them, tag them, comment on them, engage with them on those social platforms Don't force it. It's got to be authentic, but there's opportunities for you to build that relationship and become the first person they're going to when they want to talk about something that's relevant and you have to offer. So that's some just tips for the social media landscape, but recognize every one of these platforms and every one of these media outlets is going to be a little bit different, right? So don't have like a here's my approach for everybody. Think about it, use your critical thinking, understand where there's opportunities, and then build relationships from there. So the next piece on this is one of the more buzzy things that's been going on in the social media place, and that is influencers and influencer marketing. And this is quite the thing to tackle. So Allison, come on down and show us your tackling skills.
I know. And I'm like not the best tackler because I feel like I'm too old, but also like I secretly want to be an influencer. I mean, who doesn't, you know? So, yes, influencers have really changed the game, in my opinion. They bring such a unique um, perspective. They bring really obviously uber authentic, and I say authentic in quotes. I mean, it's authentic for them, you know, they're playing a part, but the craziest thing about influencers and all social media right now is that this is who people are going to. You know, it is taking over the Googling and it's wait, I saw my friend influencer, who's not your friend, but kind of go to this place. I want to go do that. It actually puts visitors in their shoes. And it's you see it through this again to come back to the T word, like you said, Kyle, this trustworthy source. Every single person that is influencing people are doing it right now. You know, I mean, they're influencing them to do just about anything, which is crazy. It truly is a remarkable change in the landscape as a whole.
So
Um,
there's a lot of different types of influencers out there, right?
yeah, that's what I was just about to say. I mean, the most unique thing is literally anything you can think of, there's an influencer for it. So what, you know, as a whole, what is an influencer? I mean, it's really just someone on there sharing their ideas and trying to, you know, make some money off of it, but all of us are biting into it. You know, how many people on here have been influenced by something? I bet everybody. Not only travel, you can, especially for our destinations, I mean, we encourage everything from outdoors to, you know, very niche hunting, fishing, hiking to culinary, you know, foodies, couple, girlfriend travel, family travel. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And honestly, they also, you know, going back, tying back into like that whole how do you measure success? That's a different game too, because there's micro influencers, there's macro influencers, but will the influencer with 10, 20,000 followers make a bigger impact for you than one with 100? Maybe. It's really about like figuring out that fit for your destination.
And Allison, one of the complaints I hear from people is some influencers lack authenticity. So I think the vetting and pairing of influencers is extra critical. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about things to consider as you walk down that path.
Yeah, so what we do is, you know, because I understand that. And like I said earlier, you know, some are super authentic and that's them, right? But some are playing a part to some extent, you know. So you really do want to see which one is going to showcase your destination, which one is going to make people want to come. So we normally hold a call with them, get to know them, really dive into their interests, because you know, there also might be some crazy thing that's hidden that you don't really know. They might be a foodie influencer, but also is really passionate about hiking. So you kind of have to find all of that out prior to bringing them. Then once we do that, we really think hard about putting together a really good itinerary for them. You know, want to showcase all the spots, hidden gems, all of that, and kind of lead them how we want them to see the destination. Now, the control is a little bit iffy here. I mean, we do typically work with them and have, you know, certain expectations, I should say, before they post, but they are talking to their audience, and that is their audience that they will speak to and engage with how they please. And so we understand that. So really, again, that authentic, we have to align with how they're going to talk about the destination, how they're going to portray it, and hopefully their audience eats it up. I mean, that's the dream. We really have seen some that have in within days a massive change. We have sold out a dinner one time we put on there. Someone talked about a dinner sold out. We've had people that we've seen spikes in hotel rooms and ticket sales of different events just from influencers because it is a much quicker turnaround. So I do think the impact is there. I didn't know how long this was going to stick around, but I think influencers are here to stay.
And I think it's evolved a little bit. It's so fascinating. I was talking with my parents and they didn't understand influencers. And I
Yeah.
was like, when in the 80s and 70s, you had your celebrities that were the stars.
Yeah.
And now you have to remember, like Gen Z, they don't watch network TV, they watch TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so like those are their celebrities. And whether they're somebody with millions of followers or somebody with 20,000 that's just really interested in paddleboarding, like there's a way to connect and to build that fame and notoriety and influence that you see there.
100%.
Yeah. So next that brings us to user-generated content because at the end of the day, aren't we all influencers?
I want to be.
Wish. Yeah, so looking into UGC, I mean, Allison mentioned that you have those expectations. So, influencer partnerships, you can cross over to the paid, or sometimes it's just based on trade and they just want to visit. But we always recommend having a contract in place with the influencer just so everybody's expectations are aligned and everybody can sign off because there are a lot of moving parts throughout the partnership. Um, throughout that, that's where you want to go ahead and put into place any stipulations or any expectations of user generated content. A lot of times they will not mind if you share their content on your own channels and as long as you tag them appropriately. But it is a great way to go ahead and leverage that coverage that the influencer has given you. So do it if you can do it. If you've negotiated it with them, go ahead and take advantage of that. um, it also amplifies their message and their followers, so they usually get pretty excited about that. And as far as a boosting strategy, we think a really good rule of thumb is if it's performing well and people are interested, why not send it out there for more people to see? I mean, it's obviously registering with people, so go ahead and put a little bit of money behind it and get more people. It's it's already working, so have more
As
people see it.
Love it, Melissa. And as we head down the final stretch here of this webinar, amplification is the next thing we're going to talk about. And you sort of touched on it with if something's working, let's boost it and get more. So to
Right.
talk more about this, we're going to bring in our senior content marketing manager, Jamie Hudgens, who does this a lot. So Jamie, talk us through what we're looking at here.
Absolutely. So I have been in this content marketing space for 9 years. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, the internet is full of incredible destination stories, but they're incredible stories that nobody ever sees, nobody ever reads. And it's not because they're not well written, it's not because the destination's not compelling. It's just that the right people haven't found those stories. And that's what we want to change because great stories just deserve the audience and they deserve the right audience. So, we're going to talk a little bit about amplification today. And on this slide, you'll see sort of the different pieces of this. So, we know that travelers are truly flooded with content. It's nonstop. They're getting hit with it all the time in every time they're picking up their phone, every time they're logging on to their computers. Um, and even if the story is incredible, it can get buried really fast just because there's so much out there. And so that's where distribution is so key. So we want to put intention behind how a story is shared. So suddenly it's not just floating around the ether, it's reaching the right people at the right time and it's inspiring them to think, okay, this is where I want to go next. So with this, we want to see how things can get interesting in terms of paid amplification. So here you'll see some metrics. This is from a Visit Mississippi sponsored content article that was promoting the Blues Highway. And this is what happens when we take a really great piece of content and we add some smart paid promotion behind it. You've already heard about this some today, and this is more of a sort of real world example. So, without any paid support with this article, we saw about 147,000 headline impressions, 2,700 clicks, and about a 1.84% CTR, which is solid.
So it's fine metrics. Yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah, yeah, we like this. This was good, but again, this is exactly to the point that they were just making that if it's going well, why not put some dollars behind it and make it go even better? So we layered in some targeting promotion, and then we saw a huge difference. This was about $4,000 worth of added distribution for the article between Instagram and Facebook. And we see this huge jump with this to now 550,000 plus headline impressions, nearly 48,000 clicks, and then this whopping 8.71% CTR. So that was huge for us. And then we have my favorite stat that we've highlighted, which is the reader spent 166 hours with this single article. So that's 166 hours of people genuinely connecting with a specific place, with this destination. And that's the kind of engagement that you actually feel. It's tangible. So paid promotion isn't just about boosting a post and kind of crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. We have so much more intention behind it than that. What we want to do is map distribution to the traveler's specific journey, from the dreaming to the planning to the actually taking action. We make sure that the content shows up exactly when someone's thinking, I wonder where I want to go next. When a story like this pops up at just the right moment, suddenly you're not just an inspiration to them, you're a real viable option for travel.
Love it. Love it. So let's talk about the impact, right?
Yeah. This is my favorite formula, and you've already heard some about this from a strategy perspective from Melissa, but this also applies from the traveler's perspective. So this is a formula that works every time. You've got quality content plus distribution equals impact. So a well-written story, yes, it is powerful. But a well-written story that's strategically distributed, that's when you see real influence. That's when people start saving articles. They send them to their spouses, they send them to their friends, they send them to their moms. They're clicking deeper, they're imagining themselves in a single destination, in this place, probably that they've never been before. And that's when content actually moves the needle.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that lands in my Instagram inbox, right?
Absolutely.
So you've got a cool story that we're going to talk about here about a piece of content that we wrote that got some extra legs.
Yep. So this is really tied in with that notion of media mapping. And this is a testament to having a good topical story and then a good relationship with outlets. So you can expect to see more examples of this happening if you know exactly how to map and you have those good connections. So sometimes paid content evolves into something that looks a lot like earned media. Our Chesapeake Bay Bridge and Tunnel blog, was the first one we did for them. It was really just about their anniversary and kind of speaking a little bit to how the bridge and tunnel driving experience is as much part of the destination as it is the journey of getting to this part of the country. And so it started with some paid promotion and it ended up earning media coverage all on its own. A local news site actually quoted portions of the blog, and our client was so excited. This happened instantly. We posted the blog on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, this had been picked up, and the client was thrilled and had sent me an email and was just like, I can't believe this happened. I'm so excited. It went better than I could have imagined. So when content travels like that, when it's made the transition from paid to earned, you know you've done it right. And paid promotion really is the spark that starts the fire. Once your content gains traction, other people start picking it up. You've got journalists, influencers, creators, whoever's looking for credible, high performing stories. And that's where the visibility multiplies. You've got paid exposure to engagement, media attention, extended reach. And this is how a single piece of content doesn't just perform well, it becomes a long term asset. It keeps garnering attention long after the campaign is technically ended.
Jamie, I love it. So like as I think back to the timeline of storytelling, right? Like what you're talking about is what the printing press and broadcast waves and social media has allowed to happen, to exist. The implication and for stories to travel, right? So it's one thing to have great stories, it's another thing to have them be heard, understood, and felt. So really
Absolutely.
good stuff there.
Thank you.
We are going to wrap this up with another great story and case study, right? And this is something that I know the Pineapple team is super excited to share with everybody.
So we thought this was a great case study to end on because we really feel like it ties everything together that we've been talking about today to truly showcase this incredible story for Augusta. We work with Destination Augusta, and they brought in some new authentic Augusta experiences for visitors to the city. So, obviously, that was some big news, and we wanted to share that. But rather than the media just saying, hey, let's cover these new experiences. We did exactly what we've been talking about and dug deeper and found the story of Black Caddies of Augusta. This is one of the experiences, and we really used this story to garner attention over the authentic experiences as a whole. So, Augusta's Black Caddies were crucial to the Masters tournament at the start of the tournament. And a lot of them are still alive today and are able to share their stories. So we identified the media who probably didn't know the story. Not many people did. And, honed it on them. The ones who we knew, like, for instance, Garden and Gun, we know that they cover untold African American history stories. So we specifically referenced an old story that we had read from the writer and tied this into that and let her know why we thought it would be of interest of her. Same with, NBC Nightly News and that kind of thing. So everybody loved this angle. It tied into a timely, world known event. It was an untold story. It was a great historic piece of Augusta that a lot of people didn't realize. And it really just impacted everyone. So, out of this campaign, we secured 140 earned media stories placements with 102 billion impressions. We saw national media all over the place. And then the Destination Augusta team backed this with some paid media tactics, and with that saw a 20% increase in traffic to the Authentic Augusta Experience site, and also had a 50,000 Authentic Augusta Experience guides distributed. So these are some examples of some coverage, but that's just a great example we felt of digging out the story, still getting the information out there about the experiences in a more authentic way, and then having the paid come in, back the earned, and really get the success that we were hoping for.
That's awesome and a great story. And like, again, that's the theme, right? There's great stories out there. How do we make sure we approach them with intention and strategy to amplify and get them the attention that they deserve, right? That's what this is all about. So, our key takeaways as we wrap things up here. Story is obviously critical, right? We're looking to build trust, connection, association, relevance, an integrated media approach that's able to match the platforms and the audiences with the stories that we have to tell just increases the effectiveness. What does success look like? What do all the key stakeholders care about? Identify that, make sure you're setting expectations effectively there, and measuring what you can around that, and then work together, right? The silos are what really hurt our ability to be effective on things. Your PR team may be doing great work over here. Your paid media team needs to understand it too, so that we can amplify and really make those stories work for us. So that's what we've got for you today. I want to bring Mary Michael back in. I don't know if we had any questions that came in the chat that we want to quickly address. We've got just a couple minutes here.
Hey,
This
can you guys hear me?
we can.
All right, perfect. Yes, we do have two questions in the chat. The first one is from anonymous attendee. What should we look for when trying to source a local PR firm, especially firms with diverse staff or partners that understand different cultural demographics?
Melissa and Allison, this is in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is try to find an agency who will come in and work with you directly. Make sure they have experience in, other destinations similar to yours. ask for some case studies to see, what has worked for them before, and make sure they're creative and have the ability to come in and really dive into your destination as a whole, learn about those nuances, learn about, all of the different stakeholders, and are really just able to come and spend some time and, invest that into you guys. And I would, like I said, ask for some case studies, ask for some recommendations, and just vet them.
I think we learned that press releases aren't getting it done, right?
Right.
Yeah, and just to
Right.
jump on one more thing too, I think it's important that it is a partnership, right? So
Right.
you're there, even local, like even if it's in your hometown, like when you're working directly for the destination, you see things that no one else sees. So really keeping the lines of communication open so that all the different cultural demographics you speak of, like make sure that they, are aware of all of it and truly understand it because you're kind of on the ground, you're boots on ground, like you're seeing it day to day. So really educating both ends of it, right? So the PR team comes in as that expert, but you're the expert too on your destination.
Very good. All right, Mary Michael, what else we got?
All right, we have one more question. This says corporate media are becoming less and less relevant in society today. Do traditional news media outlets still have a meaningful place in today's PR landscape?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, it's more fragmented than
Yeah.
ever. I told the story about, Gen Z, like they watch TikTok more than they watch
Yeah.
NBC News, right? But
Yeah.
different demographics are still tuned into traditional and legacy media. Melissa and Allison, what's your take?
Yeah, absolutely. And those legacy media outlets, they're going to still carry that level of trust and authority that social influencers, all the other media types that we've spoken about, they're not going to have that. So that strong legacy media placement is going to validate your message in ways that other platforms just cannot do. Another thing to keep in mind, what we've been talking about this whole time, amplification. So that traditional media story, it can be repackaged across so many different platforms, social media, email newsletters. I mean, we just got for one of our clients, Callaway Resort and Gardens, we just got nominated for a Good Housekeeping Award. And I mean, just by having that, we're able to send it out to all of these resources saying, listen, we just got this award, and that gives us even more credibility because Good Housekeeping is such a credible publication.
Yeah.
um and then in addition to that, what we spoke with about AI, I mean, that is who they're pulling their information from. So it absolutely still has a case. I actually cannot push that enough. Do not leave them behind.
Very good stuff. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. I know we're like 2 minutes over, but hopefully it was worth everybody's time. Really want to thank all of the folks that joined us today: Jamie Hudgens, Mary Michael Lindsay, Melissa Walker, Allison Haber. Thank you so much for your expertise and wisdom that you shared with us. Really want to thank Veronica Frazier and our friends at STS for helping us put this on. We will be sending out this presentation in an email to all the attendees. So if you have comments, suggestions, we would love to hear from you. And again, thank you for joining us today. Have a wonderful rest of the day and a good holidays coming. Thank you.
Thank you.